actually, that a lot of what I tell myself isn't true. Just kind of getting on the bike as opposed to how to ride a bike was powerful, because I got to prove my brain wrong. My brain was just freaking out as I had that anxiety attack in my car, thinking it's going to be terrible. It's going to be judged. I'm not going to lie. Part of me is like, all these homeless people are going to hug me. I'm not proud of it, but it's true. It's kind of some fear there. They're going to take advantage. I don't know. My brain did anything, said anything. And that's when I realized I'm not my negative thoughts.
Hey guys, welcome back to Normalize The Conversation. Today I'm here with special guest Jeremy Greene. He is a mindset coach and host of the Social Ninja podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for calling me a special guest. Thanks.
So special.
Oh, yeah.
So how are you today?
Doing well. Full disclosure, I woke up in an awful mood and I just had grace with myself. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do my morning routine. I got to do it because every time I do my morning routine, I always feel better. So it's a non-negotiable. And then I always talk about this with my clients, but like my Brad is like that inner critic that's mean. It's like, you're not going in the right direction and no one likes you and you're not bringing any value. Oh, blah, blah. Even though he just wants me to be safe, that's his intention. The way in which he tries to get me that safety is not very nice sometimes. So I was like, it's okay, Jeremy. And then I brought out my really kind part of me. It's okay, come on, get up, we're gonna do this routine. So I got up and I did the routine, did my gratitude and a journaling, and I meditated for 20 minutes, and then I went on a run, and then you and I talked about it before we recorded. I started dancing at the end of the block.
I love that so much. I think a lot of times our inner critic tells us that we can't do anything, that we're terrible, and it kind of keeps us wanting to stay in bed. It's like, why even try the day? And I love that you stick to your morning routine and you give yourself some grace so that you can get up and start your day. And the dancing, as we talked about before, is one of my favorite ways to start my day because you can't be in a bad mood when you're dancing. You're listening to music, you're just dancing, encouraging yourself, cheering yourself on. And it's an amazing way to put yourself in a good mood.
Yeah, I guess the very beginning of dancing is always that test, So, and you're dancing and the brain would be like, you look stupid. For me personally, because I do it in the public. So people will look at me. I'm like, you look stupid. Why are you doing this? Is this not working? Let's think about a million things we have to do later. And it's just like, I hear you and just keep dancing. There's so much power and just it's like life. Things happen, but you can choose to dance even when things happen.
Exactly. I love that. And our minds always want to tell us what not to do and what's wrong with us. And kind of there's always a restriction about something that's good for you. And dancing and just listening to your body, letting movement flow and just relaxing is so good for you. And of course, that's when your brain is like, I don't want to do that. I want to hold on to this negative energy that I'm feeling right now because it's kind of like a safe place for us inside that inner critic.
Yeah, no, you're right. And our brains straight up don't want us to be happy. They don't. That's my my default is not being happy. And for me, it takes work and my commitment to joy to enjoy my life. Because having that awareness is really helpful. Because if I'm happy and satisfied, and then I'm going to take more risks. And if I take more risks, then I'm not as safe. So my brain will do anything in its power, kicking and screaming to not be satisfied and confident because as I said, if I'm confident, then I'm taking risks. But we still have a caveman, cavewoman type brain now. So, but we haven't evolved since then in a sense. But so having that awareness helps so much. There's I hear you, but I'm gonna do it anyways. I hear you, I'm gonna do it anyways. Thank you so much. It's hard sometimes. No joke. My brain be like, no one likes you. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much for trying to keep me safe as I grind my teeth.
It's so true. Our brains want to control us. A lot of times we live within this negative mindset ourselves, and our brains and our minds want to control our thoughts and where we stay. And it is to protect us. It's to keep us inside this bubble that we're in. And I love, love, love your commitment to constantly overcome this. Let's talk about the free hugs. Can
Let's
you
do
just
it.
talk about that?
Let's just talk about it. First off, come here. Come here. If you're listening to this, I'm giving you the best hug you've ever had. I invite you to surrender to the love of this amazing hug. Yeah, you're amazing. Free hugs started. I was interviewed on a radio show called, it was an inspirational hour, and this girl loved my story because I have my Jeremy Talks to Strangers Instagram, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on. And she loved the fact that I could push past my social anxiety, like debilitating social anxiety. And she challenged me to do free hugs. And it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. I'm not gonna lie. The day I told everyone I'm gonna do free hugs for the first time, it's gonna be amazing. I ended up in my car of the spot I was gonna give free hugs to with a debilitating anxiety attack. I freaked out. I was in my car like, oh no, I can't do it. Oh my God. Freaking out for hours. And the only reason I did it is because I had told so many people I was going to do it. So it was like that accountability piece. And I didn't feel like having those conversations with that many people saying I didn't do it. So I forced myself to do it. And I'll never forget that first time I put the sign up and I saw, it was at the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. And it's very populated, well, pre-COVID. And then I put the sign up above my head. And I just felt like everyone's eyes just go to me. It's like, ooh, as I put the sign up above my head. And within 15 minutes, I had a lady crying in my arms saying like this, she needed this hug so much and she feels so much better. And then 30 minutes later, at another girl I gave a hug to, a really long hug to, and then she followed up with me on like instant or messenger and Instagram saying ever since my hug, her life had turned around. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I want more of this. So I did a spread kindness project from Los Angeles like to Vancouver, stopping along the way to like Oregon and Washington and all along there. I actually gave a nice free hug to a guy in Vancouver and we became friends. It turns out he was going through a depression because he had just gone through a divorce. I'm like, he's suit, tall, dark and handsome, suit, professional, just hanging out with us for an hour. I'm like, why is this guy just like hanging out with us? And he's like, honestly, giving you a hug and hanging out was the only time of the day I wasn't depressed. And I was like, oh, wow. I ended up becoming friends with him, as I said, and I stayed with him. He let me stay with him.
Wow.
And I've done it in Asia as well, in Taiwan.
That is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
What was that like? You said you had debilitating social anxiety and you were having this massive panic attack right before. Mm-hmm. What was that moment like when you got out of the car and you put the sign up over your head? Tell me about that moment.
Oh, it was so scary. It was just tied to so many stories that I had told myself for so many years, from being bullied in middle school and being a punching bag for my oldest brother. And there was a piece where I had it where I don't deserve to be seen, or I was scared to be seen. And so there was that part in play, and just being okay being judged, even though I know intellectually if anyone judges me, it has never to do with me. It's a projection. So I always say the way people treat you is a little better than they treat themselves. So
very true.
It was scary to like have all those eyes on me and just be seen by that many people. There's like 100 people and people were like, I was the center of attention. It was so scary and people judged me. Absolutely. And what I realized is the people who stopped, 100% of the people who gave me a hug and stopped to chat were the most incredible people ever. And that's when I realized I had to go through those people that aren't in alignment. I had to get those failures in and put myself out there in order to find the people who I want in my life.
Exactly. And what did that moment do for your social anxiety? Do you think it really helped you overcome it at all?
Yeah, I think it just, even though I know, because I've done a lot of transformational facilitation trainings. I know intellectually that a lot of what I tell myself isn't true. Just kind of getting on the bike as opposed to how to ride a bike was powerful, because I got to prove my brain wrong. My brain was just freaking out as I had that anxiety attack in my car, thinking it's going to be terrible. It's going to be judged. I'm not going to lie. Part of me is like, all these homeless people are going to hug me. I'm not proud of it, but it's true. It's kind of some fear there. They're going to take advantage. I don't know. My brain did anything, said anything. And that's when I realized I'm not my negative thoughts. Exactly. And I think people have negative thoughts and they freak out.
Exactly. So many of us want to do so many things, and we have so many goals, so many plans. And when we're younger, it's so much easier to envision ourselves doing it. And as we get older, these negative thoughts really start to creep in our brains and have control over us. And we think we are those negative thoughts. Yes. We think that we're not enough, that we're not pretty enough, that we're not skinny enough, that we're not this enough or that enough. And we truly think we are what our negative thoughts are telling us, but we aren't. And the minute we choose to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to try it anyways, it really changes something.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to try it anyways. Ooh, thank you so much. Just thinking it is a powerful one. And it's true. I see it often. So many people internalize. I did this. I do this a lot, where I'll internalize my negative thoughts as reality. And it's about separating yourself from those thoughts. And for me, one of them is instead of like, I'm not good enough, it's I have the thought that I'm not good enough. Yeah. Or I notice that I have the thought that I'm not good enough. So it's separating yourself from those thoughts that don't serve you into becoming like who you want to show up in the world, like how you want to show up in the world. Is this thought true? If no one likes you, hold on. Francesca, do you like me?
I love you.
Boom. It's not true.
Exactly. And it's a lot of our negative thoughts are things we could easily disprove. We can easily turn it around. It's just if we take a moment to say, okay, again, I hear what you're saying, but this is why you're wrong.
And it's naming it too. I do it with my clients. I was like, let's name your negative thought. What's its name?
I love that.
What's your negative thought's name? Let's name it right now. Yeah, you. Ooh, yeah, I like it. Let's go.
You don't want to pick the wrong name.
Doesn't matter. You can always change it.
Gina.
Gina's like, Francesca, no one likes you. You're not doing enough. I mean, what does Gina say to you?
Oh, that I'm not enough.
Thanks, Gina. I hear you, girl. Come on. But deep down, Gina wants you to be safe. And then there's another part of you. What's the super supportive side of you called?
Brianna.
Brianna's like, you're doing the best you can. Everyone likes you. You're bringing value everywhere you go. You're confident. You're doing the best you can. And Gina's like, no, you're not.
It's like the angel and devil on your shoulder.
But they're not a devil. That's the thing. Like turning our inner critic into an ally is very important. So it's like, all right, Gina, what do you really want? And then that's like Gina. When Gina says those things, what does she want? For you, she wants you to be safe. So it's like allowing her to feel that safety. Like, do you notice, like, what are you doing to give me that safety? I'm saying names. Is that peaceful? No. So I love you and I appreciate you for trying to keep me safe, and I want to continue giving you attention. However, if you're going to say those mean things, I'm just going to ignore you. Instead, like, hey, are you open to maybe changing the ways you give me that peace? Because I'm down to give you more attention. I want to work with you.
I love that. That's a different way of looking at your inner critic. Such a powerful way to do it.
A lot of people reject their inner critic. I did this a lot. I still sometimes do it. And that's okay as well. It's forgiving myself when it happens because it's normal. So it's about, a lot of people, as I said, people like to reject their inner critic. And what does it do? Gina's like, I'm going to speak louder because, Francesca's not listening to me. Let me go ahead and speak. Let me say it louder because she's not listening to me. She's trying to reject me. It's almost like that drunk person at the party, like go away. We don't want you to come to this party. What is that drunk person going to do? It's going to go even crazier. So
Very
instead
true.
say, sit down, here's some water. Thank you so much for coming. I know you're having a hard time. Give it some space.
I love that so much. How did you learn to do it that way?
I went to a retreat in the forest, and it was called the Next Step Training. And it was training us literally a whole weekend of turning our inner critic into an ally, our inner critics into allies. So the whole weekend consisted of making a table, like a round table of all our parts. So we got like the victim side of us, we got the inner child part of us, we got the inner critic, as I said, the confident part of you, the unconditionally self-loving part of you, all the parts of the round table. And it was about understanding all of them, what they all want for us, and just helping them, creating a system where they can work together and helping us get what we want, and like channeling them all out. Like we did this thing, we'd literally move our bodies 100% to inner critic, and we're like, what do you guys want? What? Like, it was so cool. It was so cathartic. And for me, I remember one time I had this where I channeled the part of me that doesn't care what other people think. And there's this guy earlier in the meeting, like picking his nose, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to like hurt his feelings. But because I was committing to like being my don't care what people think, I was like, and this guy picking his nose earlier, what is he doing? I just said all the things I was scared to say and not be a people pleaser. It's very empowering.
That sounds like such an amazing retreat.
It was cool.
So earlier you mentioned being a punching bag and how that really helped develop your social anxiety, and you use that to really overcome your social anxiety. Can you talk more about how feeling a punching bag for other people really affected you and brought on that social anxiety?
Yeah. There's a psychological idea called confirmation bias, and something I learned about kind of something recently. Well, so my oldest brother, who was living with autism, would use me as his punching bag because he was displacing his own challenges of the world onto me. And whenever the Lakers lost, whenever the Dodgers lost, whenever he lost in a video game, whenever anything happened, I would lose. So what ended up happening is I took on the story of I'm a punching bag. That's who I am. I deserve to be, I'm a punching bag. And so then I had that belief system. And then when I went to middle school and I got an argument with a friend of mine, he was a perfect relationship. He was looking for a punching bag because he was going through his own identity issues. And he actually came on my podcast recently. And he's like, because I had that belief system of I'm a punching bag, it was a match made in heaven. And he ended up, bullying me. And because I thought I had that a belief that I'm a punching bag, I took it. I didn't defend myself. And then he got like a whole crew of people against me. And I'm like, I'm punching bag. So it fit my narrative. It fit my belief system. So I confirmed, like confirmation bias. It confirmed my belief system.
I think a lot of people allow their trauma to become their identity. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like that's what you did when you were the punching bag for your brother. You then became everybody's punching bag, and it was normal. Mm-hmm. And that was just who you were. So how did you overcome that?
Good questions. Combination of things. From, like I said, all the different exposure therapy, social challenges that I've done, interviewing celebrities in red carpet, 10-day meditation retreat where I couldn't talk for 10 days and I meditated 11 hours a day, going to men's meetings for the last almost 4 years now. And in the beginning, I was going for 2 times a week, which is quite the commitment. It's like 3 hours each meeting. So I was going to meetings for 6 hours a week and processing the trauma, like really feeling the trauma. Because for me, it's like in my subconscious, I have a carpet and trauma happens and I just dust it under the rug pretend like it's not there. And I keep doing that. And I keep doing that. And what ends up happening is I take it out in places in my life it doesn't belong. Like, have you ever been so mean to someone or been angry with someone and you're like, wait, it's not even that big of a deal. Why am I being so mean to this person? It's because it's a mask. It's actually that part of you that you're not processing coming out in other areas. I didn't realize that. Yeah, displacement. And so I went head on. Like, our brains don't want to go head on. It wants to keep us happy and safe, right? I guess safe. So I went head on with it, and I really felt the anger at a meeting. The story is I had a second date planned with a girl, and she flaked on me. I was so angry, and it made no sense logically because I actually wasn't into her. So, but like, why am I so angry? I'm not even into her. This makes no sense. And then I want to process, why am I so angry at this girl? Because it doesn't make sense. I didn't realize till after that anger I had for her was actually a mask of the anger I had for my bully 20 years prior.
Wow.
So then I really felt the anger for the first time in 20 years because I was so scared of my anger. Like, we label our emotions in our society these days as bad. Or like, anger is bad, sadness is bad. So I finally felt the anger all out, screaming. Like, I really felt it. It was because I had someone processing it, and I was feeling it and yelling, screaming. And then I always say, like a champagne bottle, I start tearing up, like, just crying and crying and crying. And this is just sadness and pain that I've been holding on to for 20 years, Francesca.
Wow.
And then like, what's that story? I'm like, good enough. This and that. I said all the stories that I took on from that trauma. And as I let it out, they're like, what do you want to put in this space? It's like, I'm loved and seen by the people around me. I am loved. I am a gift to this world. I am on the right path. And I just put out all the positive stories that I want to put in its space. And I anchored it. I put my hand in that area of my body because your body holds on to this stuff. And a lot of people try to think their way outside of trauma, which makes no sense because the trauma is in your body, not in your head.
Exactly.
So I put those new stories in its space, and I kept saying, and they had me look at all the guys in the group, saying it to them over and over as I'm in tears. They're in tears. And then they put up a mirror, and I said it to myself, like, you are a gift to this world. You're seen and loved by the people around you, and you're an inspiration.
I love that so much. That must have been really overwhelming at first, and were you afraid to release that anger,
terrified
to react in front of so many people and to show them your vulnerability?
Terrified. My brain conditioned me to see it as a weakness. As I'm screaming and yelling, my brain's like, oh, they're judging the crap out of you, because that's how I was programmed. But I was crying all my tears out. Like, oh, they're all judging you. And I look around, everyone's in tears, and everyone afterwards is like, I'm so inspired by your work. I was like, what? Really? Wow. But I'll never forget that first time, that night, when I took that first breath after letting it all out and replacing it with the new stories. I took that first breath, and I was like, and that's when it was a really pivotal moment in my life where I realized to not be scared of my emotions. And I know this is a lady I talked to recently where she talks about feeling sadness and anger and all the quote unquote negative emotions is just like pooping. It's just something you do every day. Like,
I love that. And society does condition us to not want to show our vulnerability, to not want to show that we are feeling sad or feeling angry or feeling hurt or feeling jealous. These are all normal feelings. They're part of the 5 main emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we see them as negative, as bad, as weakness, when in fact, it's our reactions and how we use them and display these emotions that can be positive or negative. But the emotions themselves aren't positive or negative, they're neutral. And if you don't release them, they come out in negative ways. It's so important. And I'm so happy you shared that story, because there's not enough, especially among men, where you can't cry. You can't release. You can't let it out. You have to hold it all in and continue to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. And every emotion can be used for a positive thing. For example, you can use anger to set a healthy boundary.
Exactly.
Channel it in a positive way. I have anger. All right. How can I channel this in a positive way? Hey, the way you're treating me is not okay. And if you continue to treat me this way and displace your stuff and your life and be negative, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. It's not okay. Using the anger as like as a fuel to a healthy boundary. Oof. Or using sadness to really connect with someone. I staffed like a transformational retreat in Australia, and I was crying and yelling and doing my whole thing and crying. I think I was feeling sadness, and because I felt that sadness, the amount I was able to connect with the guys there were so much deeper. So the sadness can be used to get help.
Exactly, to lean on somebody for support, to have a place to start a conversation from. It can be so beautiful to feel every emotion. And a lot of times we only want to feel the happiness, and we only want to show people the happiness. And that becomes this toxic positivity. Mm-hmm. And then this toxic gratitude where it doesn't matter what's going on that's making you sad because you have so much to be grateful for. But even though you're grateful, you can still feel sad and feel your emotions.
Yeah.
So it's so important that we change the narrative of these emotions.
I think we're on the right path.
I think so. So you also have, like you said before, Jeremy Talks to Strangers Instagram account. And your thing is talking to strangers, reaching out to people and connecting with them. Mm-hmm. How did you start doing that?
To be honest, it started out as a accountability piece because I was offered a gig interviewing celebrities on the red carpet in Hollywood. And my mentor pushed me to make a video with a stranger a day on an Instagram that I'm not using, just so I don't have the pressure of performing. And it was so hard. Like the first whatever amount of time, I was like, oh, I don't want to do it today. Oh, they're going to be so mean. It's going to be awful. And I noticed I judged to try to keep myself safe with other people. And then I had to do it. So every day to no avail. Like, hey, I'm doing a talk to a stranger, make a video every day challenge. Are you okay with being the person? Some people said no. Most people said yes.
I love that.
And they were so friendly and they were so excited to support me in this mission of talking to someone every day. And that's when I realized how powerful it was. And I realized I was judging people. And that's when I realized how I felt so much better. Like I was so much happier connecting to people, and my confidence talking to people and my confidence in my own skin went up. And then it turned into, I want to inspire more people to like really love themselves. I want to inspire more people to authentically connect. And for me, it wasn't about transactional energy. I get so frustrated. I get it, but we live in this world, in my judgment, where it's like, well, what could I gain from this relationship, from this conversation? What could I get from them? Wow. And we lost the joy and just an experience. Seeing connection as just an experience. Let's connect just for the experience. No pressure.
I love that. And I think you start to realize a lot of people are looking for connections.
A lot of people are.
And we judge ourselves more than others judge us. And a lot of times our insecurities and our fears that people aren't going to like us and want to talk to us are really only inside our heads. And other people are so excited to have these conversations while at the same time feeling that same insecurity. Are they going to like me? Like we all feel that in our heads, and we all go through that vulnerability and that fear of not being good enough, of being judged. But what we judge ourselves for, other people tend not to judge us for that.
We also are mean to ourselves because indirectly, like I'm being mean to myself, so other people aren't allowed to.
Exactly, or it doesn't hurt as much when someone else is.
Yeah. A good technique I like to do is if I'm mean to myself, I'll force myself to apologize to myself. Like I said it to my best friend. I'm like, Jeremy, I'm so sorry for being mean earlier. I just want you to make progress so badly, and the way I did it was not right. I'm so sorry. It's just like, it feels good.
It sounds like that would be an amazing experience to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the pain that you caused yourself. And when you do it repeatedly, you allow yourself to understand that it's okay, that sometimes you're going to have these negative thoughts. That's part of being human, but you don't have to let them control you. And you can forgive yourself and move forward past them.
Yeah. Literally, the first step in healing is creating a compassionate relationship with yourself.
I love that so much. So you started Jeremy Talks to Strangers. You started Free Hugs. When did you start your mindset coaching business?
So I have the Social Ninjas podcast was before that. And
Yeah,
that was
go
another
through the timeline.
the Social Ninjas podcast was also started out from a challenge. I met another guy on Instagram who also had social anxiety. And we're like, oh, twins. See, exactly, like you make a bond through trauma. Me too. Like, it's like one of these things. And it started out as like him and I did a challenge. It was scary in time, I'm not gonna lie, to do an Instagram live with him. Whew, I was terrified. And we did it, and it felt really good. And we just saw it as a rep. Like I always talk to my clients, I'm like, just look at it as a rep. Just do it as a rep. Let go of, results. Just do the reps. How many fails can you get in? Like celebrate the fails. I always talk about that with my clients. It's amazing. Anyways, yeah, I did that, and they're like, let's do a podcast. We started doing a podcast, and we loved it. It was perfect because we would teach stuff like on confidence and social, helping people get over social anxiety and mental health and all these amazing tips and proper way to eat and stuff like that. And then, if it's the best way to learn is to teach it. And then as I did that, I was living in Taiwan, and I was like, let's have a guest. So that was scary. That first guest I was so uncomfortable. It was not sunshine and rainbows, let me tell you. And I started out it was hard to get anyone on the podcast. So I started out with just friends, and then did that. And I did coach in the past before the Social Ninjas podcast. I did some social coaching where I would help people just gain social confidence. So I once had a client, and we'd go out in public area, and I was almost like a fitness instructor before his socialization. So I'd say, give me 10 hellos to strangers. So you go, hello, that's 1. Come on, 9 more. Hello, come on,
Love
8
that.
more. He has severe social anxiety. 7 more. It was like going to the gym, like doing it. Oh, I don't want to do another push-up. Basically the same thing. I'm like, come on, baby. Give me 7 more. He's like, oh, okay. And you're like, hello. And he gets to 10. I'm like, hell yeah. And then, like, no joke, the 4th person can give him the dirtiest look, and I see him like kind of reacting. I'm like, good rep. 6 more, baby. And then I'd move on to like harder, quote unquote, like more challenging stuff, which was give me 10 compliments on something they have control over, and then 10 conversations. And anytime he got overwhelmed, that's when I would do my magic of helping him. Like, all right, what is that feeling? Where did it come from? And that would actually help him get through that stuck piece. And that's where you can do a little bit of a reprogram. And then I realized that the way people talk to themselves actually has a cellular you can actually change your genes, like your cells, in a sense. Like you can actually reprogram. It's like, what is it called? It's called what is it called when you can reprogram your brain? I'm having a brain fart.
I'm not going to know the terminology.
Oh, Francesca. But it literally reprograms your brain. So I started affirmations a lot, positive affirmations. I noticed I reprogrammed my brain through the process of me getting over my social anxiety. And I wanted to help other people get over it as well, because I know how painful it was. Like, I literally was on the floor. At one point in my life, I was on the floor. I couldn't stop crying. I didn't want to be here. I don't want to be living anymore. And it was a scary moment to where I am today. I was like, I want to help as many people as I can to love all over themselves and come home to themselves and just be fully expressed in all aspects of their life. That lights me up. It lights me up.
That so much.
So then I hired a coach, and first thing she said is, all right, Jeremy, the first week, I don't want you to get any clients. I just want you to love all over yourself. And I want you just to be of service, just help as many people as you can. So I said, okay. And then I hadn't had a client in a long time. I've done some dating coaching in the past as well. And I hadn't had a client in a while. And I just remember the first week of working with her, I got 3 clients.
Wow. That's incredible.
And yeah, I paid off the 3-month program in the first week. And it's that power of just not doing it for the money and just loving all over yourself and just being of service. And that's when the most magic will happen in your life, is what I realized.
Yes, when you take what you're passionate about and your desire to help people make a difference and you move forward with that, it's just magic.
Show up 100% and surrender to whatever happens.
Exactly. So you started mindset coaching as a way to help others not feel what you felt, as a way to reclaim their power before it consumed them.
And a lot of people do.
That is absolutely incredible. I think a lot of people take their pain and their trauma and they let it destroy them or control them. And you use that specifically, took it and turned it into a way to make a difference in everyone's life around you. You're a hero.
Thank you.
You are. You're saving lives. And my favorite thing, back to the free hugs. How many people do you think that you hugged really needed that connection, really just needed a hug? I know there's some times when it feels like the world is ending for me and I just want to give up, and the only thing that I really just need is a hug and not to have that connection. Especially during quarantine and the pandemic, not being able to have human connection. How many people you were able to provide that connection to?
I feel like some of them, it's happened, they just didn't tell me. But a lot. I've had this late. I once had it where, well, in the beginning there was a challenge of when do I let go? Like there's all these rules of free hugs. Like you don't ask for the free hugs. You have the sign up. You don't say, hey, you want a free hug? You don't do that at all. And then you just hold the sign up and have them come up to you. And then the challenge for me is like, did my own work. When do I let go?
That's
and
true.
That's a small piece had so much tied to it. And the reason I say that, because I would have it where I'd be hugging them and I'd like want to let go because, I don't want to be a burden. Like it came out in the middle of the hug. Oh, I don't want to hug you too long. I feel bad, which makes no sense. So the rule is you let go and they let go.
I love that.
That was growth for me.
That sounds like a really powerful exercise too. I think we're so quick to want to let go and not feel attached and not feel close to people because it's scary and we don't want to burden them. But to hold on and let go when they're ready to let go, there's so much power in that.
This lady in Canada just was not letting go. And I was like, let's go, let's grow. Like I was uncomfortable. I was like, let's grow. And we held on. She's crying and really need that hug. And she was holding on for, I think it was like a 10-minute hug. 10 minutes.
That's beautiful.
Probably the longest time we ever had.
What was that like? Was that terrifying? It sounds like it'd be a little bit uncomfortable, a 10-minute hug with a complete stranger.
Super uncomfortable. It was I was like, I feel like, and I surrendered. I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna let go and you let go.
I love that so much. Jeremy, you are, like I said, a hero, just an absolute earth angel. And I'm so, so happy that we connected. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you, Francesca. And I want to argue. No, I'm not really going to argue and say the amazing you see in me is the amazing you see in yourself.